Nat, why don't you tell us what mobility management is all about? What is this issue in a nutshell?
Well, Doug, I mean, mobility management is a strategic initiative that involves partnerships among many transportation providers, and it's clear that there's got to be a great deal of communication with the public to ensure that they look at our transportation resources as being efficiently coordinated and able to make better decisions about their options, whether they want to use public transportation, drive, walk, or use a bicycle. Our industry is facing significant disruption with the growth of shared mobility and an emergence of new technologies such as autonomous vehicles. And at the same time, we are seeing the challenges we're having as it relates to transit ridership, which is being impacted industry-wide by lower prices and improving economic conditions. So the competition from these shared mobility options is sometimes cited as a factor that's impacting our ridership, but it's not the only one. I think going forward, public transportation is going to need to move away from our current I would say siloed or separate modes to an environment of the synergy between our modes of transportation and using different technology through different providers. This last February, I attended the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and I got a chance to see firsthand and even had a chance to ride in some of the new vehicles that are being powered by autonomous vehicle technology, and that is going to change how we get people from point A to point B. Recent statistics that have been provided by APTA show that the top 5 companies working in this field of autonomous vehicles spent about $46 billion in research and development in 2015, and then there are some indications that they're spending upwards of $80 billion this past year, and so the competition for customers is pretty fast and furious. At the JTA and many of our other transit agencies, we're looking at new strategies to ensure that this autonomous vehicle technology and mobility options like ride sharing and ride sourcing and car sharing, as well as bike sharing and microtransit, are well integrated to support our systems instead of marginalizing transit into being the option of last resort. So we're experimenting with taxis and sponsored services, and in fact, we recently replaced a community shuttle with a taxi pilot operation in an area that had very, very low ridership, but was, we had riders that needed to have transportation. Similarly, we partnered and swapped out for our Beaches shuttle, a very limited low ridership service that we provided, and sponsored a service called Beachside to operate in the beaches community. So this service operates year-round versus the seasonal operation that we had at a much higher cost. And this is not unique or really new. 20 years ago, the citizens of San Francisco voted to create the San Francisco MTA. I had a chance to lead that organization, and that new agency back 20 years ago actually combined the Taxi Commission, the Department of Parking and Traffic, the Municipal Railway that most of us know as MUNI, and so the MTA had responsibility for the management of all ground transportation in the city, including MUNI, the bike system, paratransit operations, parking, traffic, as well as walking and taxis. And then there's more recent model in 2016 in Miami-Dade. They created the Miami-Dade Department of Transportation and Public Works, and they similarly put all of the ground transportation under one roof for public transit, county engineering, traffic operations, construction, maintenance, as well as highway planning and passenger transportation regulations. So, with that, we're well on our way in terms of this new mobility paradigm shift that needs to be made. And, Paul, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, Nat, I appreciate that. You've done a tremendous job here of explaining just what this mobility management encompasses, and it's an incredibly broad range of opportunities and services. What I would say to that is that, first of all, as a transit professional in this business, you and I have been around a long time working in public transit. This is one of the most exciting times that we're seeing. We know how technology has greatly transformed communications, the way we just interact with one another, but now it is transforming transportation transportation, and certainly will impact our public transportation sector going forward. So it's a tremendous opportunity for us as professionals to look to new ways to identify how we can deliver new services, varied services perhaps than what we've done in the past. It's no longer a status quo, and I think that's where the excitement is for me and for our industry. What can we be doing to be part of the future, and how do we need to adapt to that new future, new set of opportunities that are coming forward?
So, Paul, what do you see as the implications of this mobility management issue for transit authorities around the country? What's at stake for them?
Well, listening to Nat, again, he's described in, I think, pretty great detail here just the varied nature of what we mean by mobility services. But I think more directly, as we think about what this means for individual transit authorities and what it means for the industry, is that we need, as an industry, to step up to embrace these new opportunities. They can be threatening on the one hand because no one exactly knows how they're going to play out. The Ubers and the Lyfts are very early in their development. Their business models today are likely going to be changing, if not 6 months from now, a year from now. And transit agencies are going to be needing to look at how they can diversify their offerings of service. Would it mean continuing to provide the same conventional, traditional services that we've provided for the last number of decades, or will we be looking to play a different role? What's the role of the Ubers and the Lyfts in terms of mobility? Can the transit agencies collaborate with them and work with them? I think that we can, and therein lies both the opportunity and the set of challenges that we have. But I think it's pretty clear that going forward, we're going to have, as cities, not only here in the U.S., but all over the world, a new set of opportunities of how we go about delivering traditional transit services and really morphing them into more mobility-oriented services, ride-sharing services. This is a great opportunity for the industry, and I think that those who embrace the changes, accept the fact that things will be different tomorrow, I think have the greatest opportunity for success.
You know, Paul, I think we've seen the shared modes that is being provided right now and the impact that it's having on our transportation systems, and I see it as complementary. Mobility management needs to be driven by collaboration. We shouldn't see this as competition for riders. If we truly believe that public transportation is the backbone of a multimodal network of transportation, frankly, our entire community would be able to benefit, and I think this is our job. You know, our systems exist to move people efficiently and quickly and effectively, and if we don't rise to this challenge of helping all travelers, that's where you have the disconnect, and that's where all systems become inefficient, be it the parking, bicyclists, pedestrians, taxis, and so I think we have the expertise. We have the leadership in place and the organizational structures in place. It's simply, as you said, embracing this new opportunity, the challenge to coordinate all of these services under one umbrella.
So, Nat, as APTA's chair, what in your view should APTA as an organization be doing to assist transit authorities around the country in dealing with what you might call the mobility management challenge? What's APTA's role?
Well, I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice if we allow our members to think that, you know, the business model that we've been using for the last few decades will be the model of the future. And so we have a role as APTA to educate them and to lead the way in terms of this new paradigm and making sure that, one, that all of our members are aware of it, and two, how do you navigate in this new world that is being, I think, ushered in through technology and new entrants into the public transportation space. We have to keep our focus, obviously, on our customers, and that's driving a lot of this. The customers' needs and their expectations are continuing to grow, and one of the things that we need to do is make sure that our employees in our organizations are growing and able to keep up with these higher expectations and increased needs by our customers. Right now, public transportation, our industry employs about 400,000 people, and we support another 2 million individuals in terms of jobs. And so we need to, the best and the brightest, and so we need to help in terms of preparing them going into the future. So our workforce needs to have the skills that they need today, obviously, and And APTA has done a great job of keeping up with the skills that they need to operate the systems of today. But we need to also look at what skills and set of trainings that we need to provide for our workforce going into the future. We do have the challenge that in the next 5 to 10 years, we will be expecting nearly half of our workforce to retire. And so there's going to be staffing challenges and demographics that are going to create some challenges going into the future for us. And our industry needs to invest more in career pathways to identify individuals to come into our organizations, but moreover, like I said, that lifelong training that needs to happen so that they're prepared for the future. So one of the priorities that I've had as APTA Chair is to ensure that we launch a pilot program for online education and learning opportunities, and to develop a framework for a training and certification program within APTA. So we're ensuring that the quality of the training and the certification is exceptional, and we're able to make sure that our workforce is highly trained and certified for the activities that they need to undertake. We're also convening a Workforce of the Future Summit in 2018 to bring together our best thought leaders on workforce development and to showcase best practices, and to look at national partnerships that we can make in similar industries. APTA doesn't have to do it all alone. Look at other industries and leverage those opportunities. But right now, more than ever, our industry experts from a legal perspective, policy making, marketing, look at our modes, bus, rail, as well as board support and our business members and transit CEOs. We need to come together to collaborate and coordinate and strategize around these new services that we offer to the public. And so back in October, I asked that our members really look at a shared holistic vision of mobility across the modes. And so with that, we have to develop not just the workforce that we have today, but we have to develop our thinking as it goes into the future. And I think this vision for our industry will help us with the new policies that will be developed, the new regulatory arena where we will be operating in, so we can operate in conjunction with the transportation network companies. As well as I think APTA has a great opportunity to be the resource center of best practices on how to work with these transportation network companies, how to work in this new world of transportation options that are growing more interconnected and more interdependent every day. So everything that APTA is doing must be in support of this new interconnected mobility. That is our role as the Association for the Industry, with a focus towards how we serve our customers. I'm excited that in July of this year, APTA will be holding a mobility summit. That'll be on July 12th, and we hope to have some jam-packed sessions of industry leaders and experts working on, again, these best practices for our members and firmly establishing this vision for the future. I think our jobs I think Paul as the president and myself as the chairman of the association is to lead and advocate for this new mobility paradigm by sharing the narrative, by participating in a podcast just like this at a very challenging time in our industry. We can't lose focus of our advocacy responsibilities, but at the same time, we need to develop our workforce of the future and our leaders of the future. Paul?
Well, Nat, what I would add to that, first of all, I agree wholeheartedly with what you've described here. And as you know, as the new president of APTA and working with you, I'm fully on board with what you've described. What I would add to that is I think we have some specific kinds of roles for APTA in helping to move this whole initiative forward. Part of this is that APTA is a great place and a great organization for convening thought leadership. We are a convener of meetings, a convener of individuals who've got great ideas, and those need to be shared. We're also a great source for knowledge sharing, so I think we can serve in that capacity, all aimed towards helping educate the industry, helping provide additional information to the transit agencies, which really are on the ground and delivering much like you are in Jacksonville, Nat. And I think to the degree that APTA can help foster that, accelerate that information sharing, we will be ahead of the game in terms of getting agencies to really step up, begin to experiment, begin to implement new service types that we can learn from, adapt from, and to evolve over time. So I'm excited by what the prospects are, what APTA can do to help in this effort.
Great. Now, Paul, how do you, as APTA's new president, see yourself working with Nat, APTA's chair, on this issue? What kind of team are you two going to be moving forward?
Well, Doug, I think we're going to be a pretty formidable team. I've been on the job now 60 days. Nat's been in his role as chair of APTA for the last 4 months. He brings an energy and a vision to this whole issue of mobility management. I think the wonderful thing is here that the two of us are aligned completely. We see where we believe the industry needs to go, and quite honestly, I think many of our industry peers do as well. I see our role in working together as continuing to beat the drum, to make sure that the messaging is out there about what is happening in the industry, to share those results throughout. Every opportunity that Nat gets and I get, we're in front of audiences, whether it's industry peers, whether it's association trade groups. As Nat indicated, the Consumer Electronics meeting that he attended, we're spreading the message here about how we think and how we believe the transit industry is changing and evolving. And at the heart of that is this whole notion of mobility management. So I see the two of us continuing to work very closely together, providing at this level the leadership that I believe is essential for the industry. And I believe we'll have many leadership partners among our transit agency peers who will also be stepping up, who see what we do and understand that what has to be done here has to be to carry the message forward about what needs to happen, to continue to evolve, to improve, and to change our whole service offering and our whole service delivery model. I think that's happening already. There are many, many examples around the country, and we intend to, as APTA, bring attention to those. So that's just a handful of ideas and thoughts that we have as we continue to work together to push forward this whole notion of mobility management. It really is here, but we're trying to bring it into a different realm and a different level of understanding.
How much time would you estimate you and Paul, you and Nat are spending together as a new leadership team?
Wow. From my perspective, Paul, a great deal of time, but it's about something that we truly believe in and we love, so the time goes by quickly. Paul, what's your thoughts?
That is so true, and, it depends how you measure the time, right? We're oftentimes together, as we were just over this weekend in the last few days, meeting with our colleagues on the marketing communications team. We've constantly are texting and emailing and talking to one another, so comparing notes. So I think that will continue. That's what I expect. And I think that, again, I'm appreciative of Nat's leadership here because he not only has to take on this responsibility as APTA chair, but he's also running the JTA, and they're doing some amazing things in terms of technology as it is. So how he's finding the time to coordinate with me as he is and providing the leadership for our association is remarkable, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Doug, I mean, the time that we're spending is I think, 100% because of we have, I think, a passion for what we do, and we know what that represents for our communities, be it Pittsburgh, from where Paul relocated, or D.C., or Jacksonville, Florida. One thing is clear across the country. Our citizens deserve a public transportation network that is safe, that is reliable, and frankly meets the demands of a 21st century economy. And so we need to work very closely with Congress and the administration to put forth a new infrastructure plan that our communities desperately need. And Paul and I are working very hard on behalf of the 1,500 APTA members, and we're committed to this mobility management initiative. It's a strategic approach to helping us design and deliver transportation systems that our citizens are going to need in the future. They're going to need them for very important reasons as it relates to economic vitality, getting to a job, as well as their health care and making sure they have healthy livelihoods because they have access to health care facilities and educational opportunities so that they can live out their dreams in terms of their lives by going to a university or a high school or wherever they need to go in terms of their educational needs. And so when we watch, we don't watch the clock when we have such an important mission. It's what we love to do, and I think I've got a great partner in Paul. I am enjoying his leadership and watching this transition for the association. And I think our members, as well as our communities, will long benefit from, this cooperation and this vision that we're implementing.
Well, you fellows have done a great job of describing a very complex issue and APTA's role in that issue. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Doug, what I'd say is I think, again, here, Nat has capsulized it very well. The only last thought or note that I would make on this is that, look, I think the future's in front of us. It is to be shaped by our energy and our vision. We've got a great opportunity to help transform public transportation. And as I've heard Nat say many times, which I agree with, it's probably the most transformative set of changes that are happening than we've seen in decades upon decades. So let's embrace those opportunities and challenges. Let's help make a new public transportation industry.
To close,
gentlemen,
it's an exciting time. It's a very exciting time for our industry.
It is indeed, and your enthusiasm is infectious. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking the time to encapsulate an extremely complex issue. You did a beautiful job. Thank you so much, and have a great day.